Tony Robbins tells this story, hands down the best speaker on the planet. If you've ever been to a seminar of his, a UPW seminar in particular, you know exactly what I'm talking about. His energy is on another planet. One of my idols, guy I've been studying for a long time. Anyway, he tells this story. As a young 19-year-old, he was first becoming successful. And so one night, after a seminar he gave, he was juiced up and he decided to walk around in Boston. And so he was walking around Copley Square, and it was about midnight, and he ran into a homeless guy who was begging for money. And so the homeless guy said something along the lines of, "I need a quarter. Can you find it within your heart to spare a quarter?" And so Tony was mulling over the decision, because he says that, I don't really want to condone this type of behavior, but I feel bad. I like to give when I can, but I want to teach him a lesson while doing so. So Robbins, clever as usual, says, "Are you sure that's all you want, a quarter?" So the homeless man responds back. He says, "Oh yeah, 1 quarter, it's going to change my whole life." And so what does Robbins do? Tony sticks his left hand into his pocket and he pulls out a wad of hundreds to make room in his pocket to reach with his right hand so he can grab the quarter. And so the poor man is staring intently in his left hand, right, with the wad of hundreds in it. And Robbins grabs the quarter and he shows the quarter and says, "Life will give whatever price you ask of it." And he flicks the quarter over to him and he walks away. Lesson learned. See, life will give what you ask of it. But it's all in your belief system, and it's all in how you're going to ask. Iowa Wrestling has been the most dominant team in any sport over the last 35, 40 years, right? It's due to the principles that Dan Gable set down. From 1975 to 2010, they amassed 23 national championships over a span of 35 years. 23 out of 35, that's a 65% success rate. What team has a 65% chance of winning it all? It's unbelievable. So anyway, during the documentary, ESPN The Season, Iowa Wrestling, in their opening debut of the season, Iowa beat rival Penn decidedly. Yet 4 guys lost their individual matches. And so when they got into the locker room, there was utter disappointment, as if they'd gotten blown out. See, they wanted to go undefeated in every single weight class. This wasn't just a dream. This was their expectation. Leader of the team and All-American Mike Zadek screamed at one of the 4 guys and said, "You gotta learn. This is the freaking 5th match I've seen you lose because of that." Then all you see is the kid doing push-ups on the floor of the locker room. Then Tom Brands, at the time, the assistant coach at the time, he pulls the kid outside in the parking lot and gives him an earful regarding what he did wrong during the match, telling him that it was his for the taking, but he let it slip away. See, simply winning wasn't good enough for Iowa. That's why they've amassed 23 national championships since 1975. Pain is the touchstone of growth, and it all stems from an expectation, wanting to win, wanting to be the best. When we're kicked down, that's when we have the light shine on us to tell us what we have to change about ourselves. That's why LeBron James was an entirely different player in 2012 as opposed to 2011. It took losing to the Mavericks in the finals for him to discover his roots and change who he was as a person. That's why he went back to the drawing board, called up Hakeem Olajuwon, and asked him to help him with his post-up game during the offseason. He knew he had to be better. He knew he had to do more. He was the best basketball player on the court for 46 minutes, right? Kobe and Melo were significantly more clutch players. A lot of guys were more clutch players before that moment. But he knew he had to do something different. He had to add to his arsenal, right? Being the most talented guy on the court is not enough. But it took losing to see that. That's why he played with a different type of passion in 2012, 2013. That's why he won that elusive championship. That's why he turned it up against the Spurs the year after in Game 6 and Game 7. But it took losing for him to see that. Zadek, after he won his first match of the season, that single-handedly gave Iowa the win over Iowa State, He was interviewed and he said, I started off slow. I need to be able to get my takedown within the first 30 seconds. But we'll learn from here. When you expect a higher standard for yourself, you become a winner. It doesn't happen overnight, but growth is eventual. But if you accept losing, you will lose consistently. And the more you settle, even if you win, the worse off you'll be in the long run. Would Zadick have become a 3-time All-American if he said to the reporters after that conversation, like, I'm glad I was able to pull this one out. Like, it was a tough one, but I'm ecstatic that I'm able to win on a collegiate level, and I've always dreamed of this moment. See, it's a difference in attitude, and our philosophy will dictate how far we go in life, what we ask of it, what we expect. Do you expect just to get by with that win, or do you want to freaking dominate? Brett Metcalf, another Iowa wrestler. See, this is a commonplace in that locker room, in that wrestling room. After he won the national championship in 2010, look, he felt accomplished in the media press conference when they're asking him questions. But when they asked about his entire career, he felt disappointed. He said, "You feel good, but you don't." Right? This is a guy who went 228-0 in high school, and in college, he went 108-3. And his 3 losses, 2 of them were from the same person, Palmer, which he avenged that loss, and then a loss to Caldwell in the collegiate finals the year prior. And see, he put a ton of pressure on himself every day to hold himself up to the standard that he placed in his mind. It wasn't anyone else's mold that he had to conform to. If it was someone else's mold, that would be phenomenal. 108-3 on a collegiate level. That's unbelievable. But he set his own mold. And he went on to say, it's like, holy cow, the 2 guys you lost to, you beat. And if you stay with it with consistency, then you put yourself up there with the best ever. And not to say I haven't done great things, but those 3 losses definitely changed things a lot. See, he wanted to be the best ever. And that's exactly why he was a 2-time national champion and Dan Hodge Trophy winner, which is like the Heisman Trophy of wrestling. It's what we expect out of ourselves that will determine the path we follow. It's this attitude that breeds a champion. It's this attitude that propels us to win the Nobel Peace Prize, to win championships, to discover new cures, to become leaders, to be looked up to be better parents, to be better siblings, to be better mentors, coaches, to be better teammates, to be better students, teachers, to be better people. See, all of us will most likely fall short of our expectations. But if you shoot for the moon, you land amongst the stars. As long as your expectations are set high and you follow through with consistency, hard work, preparation, falling short of them will still place you among the greats.